Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today is Symfony Day 5 in the Mega DDCDP 23 course, and the topics we are going to cover today are Symfony Security Bundle, which is a mega bundle covering a lot of user related features like registration, login, roles, and roles hierarchy. We will cover. Also, we will cover restricting pages to access to certain pages, and we will also cover votes, which offers some more granular control like permissions in Symfony. So all in all, this lecture is about authentication and authorization in Symfony. We'll also create a Symfony console command, so you will know how to create commands, and that command actually will create users for us if in case we need. Just for an example, we will also cover uploading images or files in Symfony, and then we will create a service to upload files as well. So there is a lot of things to cover. Let's dive in. So the first things I will have to do is to download the Symfony security bundle. So ddiv now if I get status, let me check which files have been changed, and one of them is packages security.yml. So probably we'll have to do some stuff inside the security yml configuration. So if I go to config security yml, and here we can see there are a few things already done for us thanks to the recipes involved and the Symfony Flex system. So we'll be adding some stuff here as we go along, but we will have to start with something called creating a user table. So as you all know, any registration system in normally, if it is database based, it involves a user table, and now we will have a command to create a user also, and basically that is going to be a Docker entity but with some extra features. So if I go to ddiv php bin console make user, this is a bit different. We can go and create make entity and then name it user, but this user command gives some added features. So let's do it. By default, this normally it's the user table, so the name of the security user class should be user, and we will leave it as it is. User data in the database by doctrines, yes, we want to do so. So the doctrine table will be created for us, or entity you can say. Property, that will be the unique display name. So normally in user management solutions for databases, email is the unique one. So we will leave it as the option which is the default. Will this app need to hash check user passwords? Yes, we do need it. So we'll make it yes. So it has now created a user entity for us, and we'll open it in a while. But as you might guess, we need to run migrations first so that these are replicated to the database as well. So ddiv and by the way, it will by default have the email field and password field, and we can add more fields through make entity command, which also has been mentioned here, but we will leave it as it is for now, just to be brief about this demo. So ddev, right now we need to create a migration. And then we need to migrate the new table. So if I go to php-admin, we'll see there is a new table, which is the user table. Here it is. And right now if I go to structure, so it has id, email, roles and password. So password here will be saved as hashed, and we will do it first manually and then through the make command, so that everything becomes automatic. So these are the 4 fields. You can add more fields through the make entity command, but for now we will leave it like this. Roles comes in by default in with the make user command. Okay, the next step is, for now I need to manually create a user, and for that I will need to have a ddev php bin console make controller. So I will create a controller with a method, and that controller actually will serve as the endpoint to create a user for us. So ddev php bin console and make controller. I'll make it I'll call it reg controller for now, and I think it can be called, maybe registration controller is also fine. No, and that's it. So it has created the controller as well as the template. So if I go to the reg controller now, we will also cover this in a while, okay, which is inside the security.yml, and this is after the user command. So if I go to the reg controller, this is the template for it, and inside the controllers we will have a reg file as well, reg controller dot, and here I need to /reg. When this is accessed, right now it will be returning the controller, but I will want to create a user, hard-coded user here for the first time, and then we will use it for we'll make it automatic via the make command, as well as the command which we will create. We can create users with that also for our testing purposes. Okay, so the first thing is, as the password needs to be hashed, so we can do is, as normal, we will create a user is equals user new user. So because this is a normal, not a normal but still a doctor entity, so you will import the class, and this is app entity user. Now it has a set email property method, so I will make it my own email, and then also plain password. So the password is for example 1 2 3 4 5 6. This is hard coded password, but we need to hash it before saving it in the database. And you may remember it from our custom PHP classes also, that we need to hash the passwords. We should not keep the passwords like this in the database. So for that we need to have some injection into the method, that is let me security password. Let me just import the right hashing class. So this is an interface user. Let me do it the right way. User password hasher interface. Hasher interface, this one. So user password in hasher interface. User, you can call it user hasher or whatever. Okay, so this is the one we need to inject. And with the make user command there is a user repository also, so we can create that as well. We can inject that as well. So user repository and user, this should be normal stuff for you now. But now the user hasher is something which we can use to hash this plain password. So this hasher actually has a hash password method which is passed two things, the user object and the plain password. So we can use it now. User hasher and it will hash password. So the hash password will have two things. First is the user, this user object we have created, and the second one is this plain password. So it will create a hashed password for us. Also the documentation, if you go to the Symfony documentation, let me just show it to you. Click upgrade. Okay, I may not be able to find it directly, so just to save time I'll go to the user repository created with the make user command. In the repository, user repository, there is a method built in which is upgrade password. So to upgrade, rehash the user password automatically over time, so we can use this upgrade password as well method. Anytime you can just rehash the code, and for that, so this is again the new hash password, and then the, so we can do both. So in the controller, rich controller here, as we are importing the user repository, we are hashing the password here. This is hashed password, this, right? So if in case we have to run that method, we can use user repository and then upgrade password. I will ship it the password hash password variable. That's it. Okay, user interface user. Okay, so as you can see, it has the user as well as the hash password. So we passed it the reg controller. We use the user repository to upgrade password, and that's it, and it will persist as well as flush it for us. So now we can pass the user object to the controller, the new user which has been created. And if I go to the controller index.html in the reg, this one, if I delete everything else and just show a message for now, new user with user id and email, user.email created. This is going to be just the message we want to show for now. So if I go to /reg now in our site, so you can see we are getting new user with user id 1 and email this created. This is all hard coded, but if I go to the database now, browse it, so you can see the user has been created for us, and the password also is hashed. One thing, if we go to the entity which has been created for us, the user entity, it is just a bit different than normal doctrine in make entity command. If you issue make user command, so it has one property which is roles. This is the roles property, and it is an array. So if we get roles, so get roles always has the role underscore user also. So by default, for each logged in user, for each user, the role is going to be role user. Symfony provides this role for each user. So by default, this is the entry, so that each user, if we run the get roles command and check for the roles of the users, this will be there because of this line of code. We can also set roles, get password, set password, and erase credentials. I'm not going to cover this one. So now it's just the normal doctrine entity, but with these roles based additions. But this role is not saved for a user in by default because this is by default, so it doesn't need to be saved for users in the database. So if I want to create another user, I will just change the registration controller details. These ones, for example, this is going to be this two, and now if I access it again, so another user, and this is the ID, it has been created. So if I go to, so you can see, and if I give the same user email, it will throw an error. For example, now I haven't changed the email. So now an exception occur while executing query this integrity constraint error, because this already is there. Okay, this is creating users for from a controller, hard coded, but we can create a Symfony command also for testing while we are in the testing zone. And also Symfony commands on the command line are very fast normally, and if there are some repetitive steps, you can create your own command, just like we have been creating using commands from other packages. So I will create a command which will generate user for us. So the next step is to create a command, and luckily we have a command for creating command as well, and that is, if I go to ddef php bin console make command. Okay, it's php bin slash console make command. So the name of the command should be app create dash user. It can be anything, but app column means that these are your custom commands you have created. So app colon create dash user, and it has done created a file for us create command in the source command directory. So if I go to source and then the command directory, this one, so this is that file which has been created for us. As command is the attribute, and the name is app create user, and the description is a short description. So we'll use command to generate users in our app. So in the constructor we can inject something, and this is the configuration. We are not going to have dash dash option, so I will delete this line, but we can have two arguments to the command. One will be the username, one will be the email, and the second one will be password. So I will name it email, this one is password, and this is enter the email, and this is password or plain password. So these two commands will be, so for example, if I go to php bin console app create user, so after a space I will add email. So the first one will be whatever, it will be email, and second one will be password. And then if I click on enter, so that this execute function runs. And the thing which is most important is we can show messages to the user, but for now I will remove these just to save time. We just need to create user, and as you just saw in the controller as well, we'll inject the same dependencies into this class so that we can create users. But first, input argument 1, this is email, so this is going to be email, and similarly we need to have password also, and this will be saved in the password variable. So these, whatever is input as email, it will be saved in email, and then this password. Now we need to inject which one. If I go to the rich controller, so these two things need to be there: user password hasher, because we need to hash it, and even the user repository to create the user. So we need to inject these two, and the best place so that it can be accessible, it can be injected into the controller, into the constructor. So if I go to this, let me copy it. This is the controller constructor. So here private this password, or maybe we can call it just hasher or password hasher, and I will import the class. And similarly the second one is going to be we can even inject entity manager here, but the user repository already has entity manager inside that method, so that is not needed. It's just your choice, or let us do it with the entity manager. So entity manager, that's it. These two things have been injected, these two to the create user command class. Now we can access them here. And one more thing, we will create a new user, and this is the doctor entity. We need to import it as well. So app entity user has been created. Now we need to set the email upon this user. Set email, and this is going to be this email which is provided in the command. And similarly set password, but before setting the password we need to hash it, and to hash it we will use this plain password, and we already have a hasher, so the name of it password hasher. So password, this password hasher, because this is available on the class. This is the password hasher, and this will be passed. Hash password is the method, and this password will be passed into it. As well as the first argument is the user. Okay, the next is, and it will return as the hash password, right? Now we need to set the password using the user set method, and it will pass this hash password. That's it, the user is ready to be persisted, and we already have entity manager here. Now persist user, and then we need to flush it. Okay, upon success we can show a message to the user, and that is going to be a new user has been created with the email, and we can use email address here, $sign user get email. Now we can even use the direct email variable as well. So this is going to be okay, and that's it. So if everything is fine, let me double check it. I think we are good to go to test the command. So ddev php bin console. Now the command we have created is app create dash user, and the first argument, this is going to be the first argument, this is going to be second argument. The first one should be email, so it can be park@rupark.com, and the password can be anything 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So a new user has been created with the email. Forget this message we have got, and let me check if it is working. So if I go to the database, yes, the user has been created, and this is the password. And if I run it for some other user, so it's now easy creating users here. Hope this has explained a lot of things for you. So now you can populate the user table, but as I said, this was all kind of manual system, though the command is now a tool which we can use to create users. But in normal way, life, in normal your day-to-day proceeding as a web developer, you will need to create a user registration form, and user registration form, once submitted, basically saves everything for you in the database. That's one of the ways of creating or populating the user table. So this is what we are going to do next. We will create a user registration form, and luckily we have a command for that from the make bundle. If php bin console make user dash registration. I think if I have typed it well, it is going to be make registration, just registration. Okay, this is make registration form. Sorry for the wrong one. So def php bin console make registration dash form. Do you want to add unique entity validation as attribute to the user for something? So yes, because an email should be unique in the table and on the object as well. So yes, you want to send an email to verify the user's email address after registration. Yes, you might have seen something like this while registering for user accounts on a particular website. An email is sent to the user, and once he or she clicks it, the link in that email, the user is then verified. So yes, we want that functionality as well. Okay, for this these two components need to be installed at the end, because we are missing some important components. Don't forget to install these after you are finished. So one is Symfony cast verify email bundle, another one is Symfony mailer. So I will copy them for now, but it will prompt us again for these two. So we will have to do it after this exercise. Would you like to include the user ID in the verification link to allow anonymous email verification? Well, this is not needed, and no is the default, so I will leave it like this. What email address will be used to send registration confirmations? So for example, you have an official email, and if somebody confirms registration, an email will come to you that the user has accepted or verified the user registration. So that is email we need to give here. Maybe it is management or md@drupal.com. What name should be associated with email address? So manager, HR, maybe, whatever. Do you want to automatically authenticate the user of registration? If user registers, should he be authenticated automatically? In other words, should he be logged in once he registers? So we'll leave it as yes for now. And now it is asking me which route should the user be redirected to after registration. So if you have a few registration, if the user registers and logs in, so where should he be redirected? So you can probably go for any of the routes. We can show it for now. Maybe some welcome page we should create, and maybe this it can be anything. Let me use it, use the 45, which is welcome route. No for now, and that's it. Okay, so again it has asked us to install these two bundles. Let us do it. ddiv and yes, at any stage you can go to the documentation of these bundles. But if I git status now, some of the files would have been created for us. So this one is the one created now, registration controller, and then the registration form type also. And these are the two we are going to study now. So if I go to the controller directory and if I go to the registration controller, notice this one was the one we created, but this one is now registration controller for as a result of this form. So if you come here, the path is /register and the route is app register, and the registration it accepts a request, and this is that user password hasher interface which we injected, and then the entity managers. This is normal stuff. We are creating the new user, and this is the registration form. Handle request, this is normal because the form, this is the controller for the form, and if it is submitted and validated, now we get the, this is a property on the form, plain password. We get the password from there. Rather, let me just quickly go to the register first so that you can see what is happening. So Symfony 3/register, this is the email, password, and agree to terms. This is normal. Normally you see it, so it has also created this for us. So if I just check, let me create a new user, which is naveed@drupal.com. Password is 123456 and agree to terms and register. So there is an error, and why the error is because it created an extra column in the user table, this registration form, which we haven't yet created. So your first thought should be to first create the migration. ddiv php bin console make migration, and then migrate. Yes, so we go to the database table for the users. Notice there were just 4 fields, but if I go browse it again, and now is verified is a new field, which is by default it is 0. So a user once registers will be by default 0 here, but if he or she clicks on a link in the email, then he will be verified. So if I create the if I do the user again, be that drupal.com and password is 123456 and register. Okay, so you can see the welcome route. Actually this route may not exist or whatever, but if we go to, ignore this error, if we browse now, so a new user has been created and right now it's 0, its status is 0. So these 4 users we created manually, kind of manually first, and now this, the 6th one, is through the registration form. Okay, so let us continue reading the registration control that it created for us. So if the form is submitted and form is valid, plain password is, because we injected the user password hasher interface, so we can fetch this plain password from the form and set the password to be user password hasher, and this is the same stuff we did. Then the persist the user and flash the user. Okay, this is that option where the email is sent. So generate a signed URL and email it to the user. So this is the email verifier components we added to the Symfony after the user registration form. So this dot email verifier send email confirmation and app verify email user new template email, and then the new address is this. If you remember, these settings were asked of us, MD, and then the please confirm your email HTML template, and you can customize this HTML template also. If you go to the registration templates directory, there is a confirm email.html.twig as well. So if I go there in the registration, so this is the form, registration form, and this is the email. So please confirm this, and all this link will expire. So you can customize this using the template, this twig template, and this is the register.html.twig file. So you can see this is normal stuff. If there are errors, app.flashes, so it loops through it, and then the form row registration email plain password and the agree terms, and this is the button to register, and that's it. Simple form. You can customize the form here, and if you go to the form itself, so there is one thing I need to show you. The forms directory in the source, where we will have the new registration form, and you can see it's the normal Drupal form method build form inside the registration form type. So agree terms is a checkbox mapped false. Mapped false means this checkbox is just is not linked to any property in the database. So just agree terms. Maybe if you can link it, then you can remove it, but there is no property against this one. So if somebody checks agree terms, only then the forms can be submitted, and we can make it required also. So this is what agree terms is doing. Then the plain password is password type, mapped is false, and yes, so this is again set in the controller. That's why even the comment is here, it is mapped false also, and the constraints are not blank and the length is 6. Maybe you can increase it. Okay, minimum length. So that's all for the registration controller. We need to maybe check why that redirect was not working for after the login. So let us quickly create a new controller method in the controller for registration. This is a registration controller. We will call it after registration, something like this. Let me quickly registration slash success. We will make the route registration slash success, the path, and the name should be this. So should be after registration, and after registration okay, and we just need to include a template. We'll call it after registration .html.py, and after registration.html.py, and I will create a inside the registration folder. We'll copy this one. After registration.html.py, remove everything else. Congratulations, you have successfully registered and logged in. Enjoy our site. Okay, so now the user will be redirected to this route after the registration, and let me confirm it again. After registration is the name of the route, and if the user successfully registers, so this is after registration, it will be logged. Also this other verify user is also a controller method action. So it will go to the route is verify slash email, and the name is this. Actually, if somebody clicks on it, so the user will be verified. This is the logic for that. Try, and your email address has been verified. Okay, so we will try to do it as well once the link is clicked, and just check if the user is changing from the 0 state to 1 or not. But let me just quickly now create a new registration. So slash register, email is fawad@rupak.com, Password is 123456. Agree to your terms and register. So okay, you can see congratulations, you have been successfully registered and logged in. Enjoy your site, our site. Let's check the mail pit which comes for with ddiv mail pit. It will launch the mail pit window, and yes, we have an email. And if we haven't yet set up the login system, but if I click on it, because it needs the logged in user, it will make the user active, is verified in the database. So this key will then, but we will do it after we have set up the login system. One thing, this mail pit comes with ddiv setting for PHP, and if I check ddiv describe, here it is. So you can launch directly the mail pit, which is the mail catcher system for ddiv. But you need to make one small setting, which I already have done. If you come to the .env file, where it is, this is .env file. So here in the mail DSN, this is added by the Symfony mailer. The mailer DSN is SMTP 127.0.0.1 colon 10.225. This is for ddiv. So we can just comment it out. So you need to just add this, and the mail pit will then catch all the outgoing emails from the Symfony application which you are developing. On your live server, you will have something else, but here, just for development purposes, on ddiv you can leave it like this. Now one more thing, it has a corresponding setting in the mailer.yml also. So this value basically %env mailer dsn % is coming from that .env file. You can directly also set up the value here. Okay, the next step is, now we have the registration form ready, and users are being saved in the database as well. The next step is to create the login form, and we will be able to log in users using that form. One thing, before starting that exercise, in the security.yml file, we need to uncomment these values, or you can type these yourself as well. You can take these values from, just to save time I have commented them out. So we need to add two keys, form underscore login and logout. So in the firewalls section, main, this is the one in use for our application at the moment, and the provider is app user provider. There can be different providers for the authentication system in Symfony. So if we scroll up in the provider section, it is app user provider, and it is entity, the class is user, and the property is email. So this is used, and this is being referred here in the provider property of the main inside the firewalls. So for form login, the login path should be this route, app login route, and check path where the processing of the form will take place. So that again is the same login link. And for logout, the path should be app logout. We need to create these two ourselves first, and then we will make login form, which it will help us automatically do it also. And the target, once the logout link is clicked, where should the user end up on, and then that is the app register, or you can have any path. So app register means, or maybe app login, app login. So if a user logs out, he should be redirected to the app login, this login link again, or maybe some home page. So this all depends upon your settings or your business logic. So let's start with creating the login path settings, the login form and the controller. So the easiest way would be to generate a controller. So ddiv php bin console make controller. I'll call the controller login controller. No, and that's it. So if I go to login controller now, here if we will need to write our logic. This is the login controller and the name is app underscore login. Okay, so let us first create the form, or maybe the logic directly. And if we go to the, by the way, I have already opened the documentation for app login. These settings are already there, and this is the controller for login, so you can always refer to it here, but let's start. So the path, the form where the form will lies /login, but the name of the route is this app login. Okay, and this setting needs to go to the security.yml. We already have set up that part, this app login. Okay, so coming to the login controller, here we need to inject or pass login utilities to be authentication util, this first one, and this is the Symfony component security HTTP authentication utils. So we need to pass it to the route method which deals in, and we can call it authentication utils or anything like this. Okay, so we need to pass this, which we already have now. This we don't need to process the whole form like we have been using so far in this course. Once you specify app login in the security settings, Symfony will take care of it, but we do need to pass something to the form, which we need to grab from this authentication utils. So authentication utils, these are two methods: get last authenticated error and get last username. So if for example somebody has typed incorrect username, this will be available here, get last username, and you can call it last username or something like this. Similarly, if there is some error, so authenticator utils and get last authentication error. For example, if the username already exists, so it will be inside this variable, and now we need to pass these two to the controller, the corresponding twig template. So all of this is documented in the Symfony documentation, so you can go through it as well. Now last underscore username, and this is going to be this last username variable. And similarly, if there is any error, so we will call it error or anything, and then it is going to be this error. That's all. So we don't need to process anything ourselves. Specifying this, Symfony will do it for us, and that's all we needed. Now we need to go to the index.html in the login controller here, and we will create, I will remove everything here, and we will quickly create a form. By the way, the form which the form classes, form type classes create for us is not, we can do that as well, but here we just need to output the form tags directly, and it will, the Symfony security system will take care of for us. So we can just create simple form, and I will call it login form. Simple form means just form tag, open, and then we will close it. In the action we'll have path and the controller we have specified in the security settings. So it is login underscore app underscore login, sorry, app underscore login. So the action of it will be app login and the method will be post. Next we need to have two things. One is label for, and it is going to be underscore username, and we have input type equals text, name equals. One thing you need to be very specific with this naming. It is going to be username. Okay, so we need to give it the name of underscore username, and Symfony security system will know that this field is for the username field. Okay, so input type is equal to username, and similarly I'll just quickly copy and paste it. This one is password, and for password also it's going to be underscore password, and it should be underscore password. So underscore password and username, these names are important for the security system to function properly, the login system actually. And now we need to have just one button. So for button, input type equals submit, value equals login, and it should be after the password. Let us try login now. Okay, so we have messed up block, and all of this should go inside the block actually. So email, password and login. One thing we are missing, if we have errors, so we need to specify errors here, and it has to go inside an if statement. If and if. So if error is available, we will output it, otherwise not. So if error, here we need to output the value for errors. We have some class, or we can use some Tailwind classes also, but let us keep it simple. Okay, here we need to output the error, and it is error dot message key and the pipe, and then the trans function which is used for translation. If it's a multilingual site, it will work here as well. The messages. This is in this side the documentation also, so you don't need to memorize it. So if there is any error and we are passing the error from the controller, this controller to the, and this error is coming from the authentication utils, get last authentication error, and that's all we needed. Probably everything is now there which we wanted to. So error.message key, trans, error.message data, and security. Okay, let us refresh the page, and if I log in with the username I have 1 2 3 4 5 6, so the login button is not working. We have not closed. Let me close the form also. Something is wrong. Okay, so we have logged in, and if I click on log out, so it redirects me to the login page again. If I give some incorrect credentials, so it says invalid credentials, but if I give the proper credentials, so it redirects me to the home page, which means the page is, the user is logged in. Okay, so the login system is now functioning well, and let me quickly recap. Our only role was to create a form. This is the simple form, and then our login controller, where it is, this is the login controller, and here inside the controller we needed to inject authentication utils, this, and then grab two variables, the last username and error, and pass those to the twig and render them if they were needed. So this is working fine. What I will do is I will maybe remove these now, or let me rename them. Because we are going to make the login form through the make command now, and similarly, where is the login, this one, okay. So let us try tdf php bin / console, and we will make login if we just issue the command, just bin console, it will give us all the list of the commands, and one of them will be login something. This is, but there is a shortcut also, but let me do it then. Ddiv php bin console and make security form dash login. Choose the name of the class, so it will be login container controller, just like we had for our own purpose also. No, logout URL, yes, no, and that's it. So 3 things have been created, and the security.yml has been updated. So login controller, login.html, and twig. Let us examine these files, what it has done for us. So if I go to the controller, and this one is the older one we manually created, and this one is the new one. So the path is /login, and the app /login is going to be the route, and then the function same authentication utils have been passed to it. We are getting the error and the last username and passing them to the login form. Also the logout button has been created for us. This is a logout button. We were missing it in our own implementation, but this needs to be here as well. So the logout action, basically we just need to create it, and then Symfony will take care of it for us. So previously I tried to log out, but I was um, no, not redirected properly, or so this one will make it now work properly, because we have created the logout route. This was app logout was not existing previously. So if I go to the Symfony YAML file, so the logout path is app logout, and we will also use target. Target means where should the user go to after the logout. So it should be normally login. So I will re-add it, and this also has enabled CSRF for us. So you can enable CSRF support with this key. And if we go to now the form which it will have created for us. So if I go to the login, and this is the login.html twig. These are the error messages we created manually also, and it is showing you are logged in as app.user identifier. So you can access within the twig. If you are logged in, you can access the logged in user via this app.user. Okay, and this is extra key. The user identifier is email actually, and it has a logout link also. You'll see what it is doing, and this is again the same stuff. Email is last username, and the name is underscore username, and password is underscore password. That's very important. We should name the two fields as underscore username and underscore password, and it has support for CSRF token also. So this is normal stuff. The rest we will just sign in button, or it can be login also. So if I go to /login now, which one is this? Okay, basically there is a clash, because both the paths of the controller we created for the login and the make command has created. So what we will do is we will just change this to login 2, so that this is not taken up. So if I log in now, I am already logged in, so let me log out. Okay, so this is, if I give it something else, at gmail.com, and password is also something this, and so invalid credentials. But if I try to log in with my own account, so I'm logged in now. And it is redirecting me to the home page. Which pages we should go to? Maybe some about us page. We already have an about us page. Okay, you can see on the page I'm logged in as this user. So I have been awarded the role user, which is default for the logged in users in Symfony. My email address is this. I'm authenticated, so the profile bar shows you that you are logged in. I can click on the logout link and I can log out. But what we can do is, if I even go to the logout link here, /logout, so it redirects me to the login page, means I have got logout, and you can see I'm logged out from here. In the profiler as well, I'm not authenticated. Okay, now we need to check that functionality I was telling you about, the registration link, so that we can click on it. The email sent to the registered user, if user clicks on it in the email, he should be verified. So that's the point that was left from the previous topic. Now we have the login ready, so let me go to the register and register a new user. Here I will make it maybe bilal@rupak.com. Password is 123456. Agree and register. So I have got registered now. Let me go to about us. Okay, now if I log in, bilal@rupak.com, go to some page. So you can see I'm logged in as Bilal now. Okay, the next step is, let me check the email if Bilal has got the email. Mail it. So yes, this is the email for Bilal, and if he clicks on, before this, let me open PHP admin also. So go to the user table. So this is Bilal, and his is verified is 0. But if I click on the link now for Bilal in the email, things are fine. Hopefully it will change to this. And if I refresh the page, now it is showing 1. It means it is now a verified user. So you can set up this functionality. Basically, in a live site, there are even spams creating email accounts on your server or on your website. So if somebody, this can prevent user from automatically doing all this for you. If even a user is created, maybe if it is a fake one, this is one of the ways to restrict users with full authority on the site. Okay, so we have now even set up the login system. Let me go to the slides, so that what else is left for us. So registration is done, console command is done, login is done. Now we will do some roles stuff, roles hierarchy, and restricting pages to the access to the pages. Then our vote. So these are the remaining topics. So let's continue. So you can see the logged in user has role underscore user by default. If a user logs in, he will get this role underscore user. But how to know a user? For example, if a user logs in and if you is not verified, you still will have this user, because Symfony provides it. All the logged in users has this role. So what we can do is, uh, we'll do it a bit later. So let's start with the roles. And we will give make this about us. Let me just check where were we. About us, hello controller. So if you go to the hello controller in one of the lectures, we have the about us route and the name is this. Right now everybody can access this route. So for example, if I go to slash about us, this is the page, everybody can access it. Even if I log out, I can access it. But for example, if I am inside this route and I want it to be accessed only by logged in user, any logged in user, so what I can do is, we can create some code even at the start of the controller. So if I come here in the top, we can create something like this, and in this attribute we'll use is granted, and we'll pass the name of the role. So the name of the role is, by the way, all the roles in Symfony you start with role underscore. Okay, so if you are going to create any other roles, the convention is to make them, and they work a lot with some of the functionality inside Symfony. So we should always use create roles with role underscore. So role underscore, and this role is basically role underscore user. So any authenticated user gets this role user. So is granted user role. What does this mean now? If any user is granted this role, only he or she will be allowed to access this about us page. So right now if I refresh the page, because Bilal has role underscore user, so he will be allowed to access. But if I log out, and we can log out from here also, and if I go to about us, and we are still able to access it. Maybe I have some typo, so maybe there is typo in my code. Let me just check, because I'm logged out and still we are able to access the about us page. If I go to my code, is granted. Oh yes, I just mixed it up, it up with the role user capital words. It should be is granted, and we need to include this class as well. Import class. There is a class against each attribute, so is granted has been included. Hopefully if we refresh the page now about us, so we are not being allowed to access it, because and we have been redirected to the login page. There is one more way of doing it. For example, this is just analogous to, for example, there is a gatekeeper outside a house, and if somebody is he's checking the roles of people entering this house. If this method is a house, for example, so if he does not have this role, he will immediately be thrown away or sent back. But if you want somebody to enter the house first and then you need to do some processing, for example, something like that, before deciding on whether to allow a user or not, so in that case I will comment it out, this line. So now inside the here, for example, you need to check within the action of the controller whether to allow somebody or not. Maybe you need to process something. So for example, if I define two variables, this is just for a demo purpose, a equals 10. If a is greater than 10, if a is greater than 10, for example, you do some complex processing here, in case whatever, and then you decide whether to allow some user or not. In that case you will use this deny access unless granted. So this deny access unless granted, and here you can pass the role name, which is role underscore user. Okay, so right now if a is 10 and the value of a is 10, and in the if statement we are checking if the value of a is greater than 10, then deny access. So if, for example, I go to about us again, so we are allowed to get in, but if I make a equal to 10, then your guess, it will be basically now we are not able to access it. So if you have to check within the controller based on some condition or some processing or whatever, you can use this. Maybe at the end of the method you just need to issue this so that some processing takes place first. You can use this method, this dot deny access unless granted, and even without any condition you can use it inside this action. So now it will be, if I access about us, it will always be redirecting me to this, and if I log in with Bilal at drupak.com, and now we are back on the about us page. So that's way you can have rules associated with users who can, and you can perform operations on particular resource in Symfony. If I come to the Symfony documentation for security, okay, so you can have hierarchy in roles also. So for example, if one is admin role, another is maybe let me just quickly create 3 roles so you can understand. But I will copy this key role hierarchy in to our security.yml. So if you need to, where it is, security.yml. okay, so within the security section inside the security key you can add rules hierarchy. Maybe somewhere here, or even here. Okay, role hierarchy is the key, and then we can define different roles. Okay, so the top level is admin, then even we can assign roles in arrays also. This is role super admin. Super admin will have all these roles. So for example, let me create one more role also. For example, this is a teacher role in a school, right? So teacher role will have role underscore admin. And the super admin will have role underscore teacher. So you can define such hierarchy in, basically this will give us, because the role admin has a normal role user which as Symfony gives, then the teacher has the role admin, this one. So it means teacher has both the admin role as well as the user role, and the super admin has all these roles. So we can specify all these roles individually also, but what we can do is, if I just specify the user role like this, teacher role, it means this super admin has both this role as well as this role. So this is hierarchy which you can test, and this can be done in many other ways also. So for example, so if I give access to a particular resource, for example, let us try it with the about us section now. So if I give role admin to a user, it means he is also a role user, so he can access our page. Similarly, if I give role teacher to a user, he can also access the page, and similarly if role super admin is given, he can access the page, because the role teacher is assigned to it, and it has been assigned the role admin, and role admin has been assigned the role user. But if role admin, maybe we have some other role, if role underscore principal, for example, or a role underscore investor, we can call it investor for some reason. Okay, now if I want to access a role, if I want to access the about us page with the this role, admin role, if I give investor role to a user, so basically he will be admin also. So let's try it. by the way, we can directly give roles to a user the database. For now, let me try if I can give it the role here. So if I give the is to save time is admin sorry role underscore admin. Okay, if I change, I think I need to change it to double quotes. Sorry for this. And then if I save it, where is the save button? This one. Yes, now Bilal has been given role admin. And if I log in Bilal, so is able to access about us page. Because if I go to this, you can see now there is one more, means two roles Bilal has got, and these are role admin, and this one is automatically given by Symfony to a logged in user, role underscore user. We don't need to specify it inside the database. So but this one is now coming from the database, and it is now an array of two roles. Now if we go to the about us section, about us controller action, so you can see we are allowing deny access unless granted this role, user admin role, right? Now if I check the hierarchy again in the security.yml, so here is how it stands. Role admin has been given a role investor also. Role teacher is also a role admin. So if for example we give role teacher to a user, so whatever privileges are with the admin, they will be with that role teacher also. Similarly, role super admin has role teacher also. This one is the role teacher. Maybe we can add some other roles also, role underscore abc, role underscore def, or whatever. But if we give somebody role super admin, it has the teacher role, but the teacher has the admin role. So it means if we change Bilal to role super admin, let me change it now, role super admin in the database, and then we should check if he is able to access the same about us page or not. So if I go to this, I will change it to role super admin and save it. Now if I go to the about us page, initially it is throwing me this error, but let me log in. And if I go to Bilal's, you can see it is now super admin, and he is able to access the page, sorry, about us page. Why? Though his role is super admin, but we have specified that super admin will have all the privileges of the role teacher also. And if we go to this role teacher, so you can see role teacher has all the privileges of role admin also. It means all the admin, and though in our about us check for the controller we are only using role admin, still we are able to access them, because that's a higher level hierarchy role for us, the super admin. So if I go to Symfony again, the Symfony security.yml again, and if I remove this role teacher from the super admin, role teacher, because we are reaching admin via this role teacher. So if I refresh the page now, because super admin now does not have all the privileges of what the admin has, so maybe if I just refresh it, yes, you can see it is now access denied. He is not able to access this page, only because if I put it back, So he can access it now. So hope the hierarchy is clear. You can create in your application according to your business needs. You can have a hierarchy of roles. So what else is left now? I will go back to this. So login roles hierarchy, we have done all this. Restricting access to pages, this is also done. Maybe if some elements are missing, restricting access to pages, I'll bold them out. Okay, so these are three things left now. Votes is something we are going to create now, and this is used for permissions. In Symfony you can call them permissions, because one role can do a lot of things, and each thing which a user can do on a site is probably a permission. So you cannot create hundreds of roles normally. What you do is you assign multiple permissions to a role, and then you give a user that role, and those permissions are replicated across the site. So for example, if I go to the security.yml again, and this is an admin role, for example, role admin is, so role admin may be able to do maybe some 100 things. So just giving one role to a particular user, it will allow them to do 100 things on the site. And this is something very prevalent in Drupal also. It's a very powerful permission management system there. So let's start using votes. What are votes actually? For this, I will go to one of the controllers we have created for CRUDs. Maybe if I go to employee controller, candidate controller, book controller, book and author. Okay, book may be an example. This one, book. We already have this CRUD control. Maybe if I go to book/new, book/new, yes, so we can create some books here. So if I try test, and author is he, these are, and if I can edit something, so for now I will create a role, maybe book author. So only book author and book editor, these are two roles for me, the new roles. So book author will be able to create books, and book editor will create will only be able to edit the role, something like this. So let's start. Or maybe because we have still two topics left, these are two topics, votes we are going to do it now: uploading images and creating a service to upload images. So for this also we need to create a new entity. So let's do it now, and we will use the votes on that, so you will understand these three topics. Let us first do these two, and then we will come back to the vote section. So I will create a journal PDF php bin/console, and here I will create an entity. I will call it journal. So this is going to be a table for journals which some users can upload with images also. Okay, the name of the, so it will be a title. Journal has a title normally. Okay, the first time I'm using an author field also within an entity, because now we have the login user login and registration concept, and a user, if he creates an entity, there should be a primary key of the foreign key referring to the user. So we should do have that column also, and I will call it author. This should not be confused with the author entity we had created. Okay, so the title is this is for the title right now, and yes, no. Okay, the next entity is going to be author field. The author will be entity reference or reference to the user table, so we'll call it author. And this is, by the way, going to be many to one relationship, because many journals can be created by an author, which is the user. And the field type should be relation. Which class should this entity be related to? So it should be related to the user entity, and it should be many to one relationship. Is journal.author property allowed to be null? No, there must be some entry for the user. To use the an access, I will make it yes, so that we can get all the journals. Yes, we will make it journals. This is all we have covered, so I will just go through it. For now, I'll leave it as this. Okay, one more property we need to create, and that is the journal should have an image. And because we are going to create an image uploaded in a while, we'll create that image also, field also, but we will just keep the name of the image in the database. So we'll call it image name. It should be string. And yes, we can leave it as null. And that's it. So the entity has been created. What now we can do is we will have to run the migration. And then we'll run this. To import the table. So if I go to php-myadmin now, there will be a table for journal also. This is the journal table. So it has the structure of author ID. This is basically a foreign key to the author table, the user table basically, title and image name. And if I go to the relation view, so you can see this is a foreign key to the user table. This is the user table. So the structure for user is ready. Now I need to generate CRUD for this as well. So deriv php bin/console. Again, this is, you can cover the previous lecture so that you can know how we created CRUD for many entities. So make CRUD for which entity? Journal controller. No, that's it. So now if I go to /journal/new, /new, so you can see the title and this is the author reference, but this should be set automatically as well for us, not through the form. And in fact, I have to change the image field. I will leave it now for as this text box, but it will be changed to image upload field. Okay, so for now let us leave it like this. And but the main goal is to help you understand how voters work. For now I will change the form just a bit, and that is if I go to the form for journal type, here I need to remove the author altogether because it will be automatically done for us. and I will leave the image field as it is right now. So if I go to the form, this that is gone, but in the controller, if I go to the journal controller, this one, we need to do something inside the new, so that here we need to check, we need to basically let the controller for the new option know that we need to set the author field. So this is very simple. We can use the get user. This is the get user. So whichever user is logged in, it will be assigned to, we will call it user, or maybe author. So this is the logged in. You can get the logged in user via this dot get user in the controller. So this dot get user means whoever the log, but one thing, if the user is not logged in, this will be null. So if author, it means if it is not null, then what we can do is we can set the journal set author, and it will be passed the author field, the author object. That's it. So this way we are going to populate the foreign key in the journal table for the user who is logged in. This value, if you go to the journal table, so this author field in the journal needs to be populated with the logged in user. That's the linkage between the journal and the logged in user. So if a user is not logged in, we will not allow the user to post journals. Okay. So as I said, we can use the same is granted route, sorry, is granted, and then this, we will create these roles, but first role underscore journal underscore creator, maybe. So this is a new role. If this is not granted to somebody, the user, so it will be access denied. And let me include this class also. This has been included. So we will now create this user. Rather than creating it, we will directly post it to the user for maybe some user in the database. So if I, for example, this is Naveed, if I did him, and here again these should be quotes, double quotes, role journal creator, and maybe he is also given journal editor. Let us make it even further easier. Role journal underscore admin. Leave this one. Okay, so role journal admin is given to the user naveed@truepark.com and go. So now this user has role journal admin. If I go to this, I will change it as well. Sorry, role journal admin. Role journal admin. So if I go to journal/new now, so access denied. You are not allowed to access this page. Why? Because the user who is logged in is Bilal, and Bilal does not have this role. So I will log out and log in as Naveed at drupal.com 12345 6. Now we are logged in as, if I go to journal/new, so let me create a new journal, research on malaria, for example, and save. For now I'll just make it .png or something like this. Okay, so this is one, and we are logged in as Naveed, right? And who is the journal admin. So if we edit it, he can edit it, but we are not restricting the edit for. So we will copy this. Maybe somebody else also comes, and even if Naveed is logged out, this one, and if I create a new one, test on cancer, and this is .png or jpg, whatever. So these two articles now have been created by Naveed, and he can edit them as well because now he has the role. But if we go to, if we log out Naveed, log in as Bilal, go to that URL again, journal, so you can weave those, Bilal can weave these, but if I click on edit, so he's denied access, he cannot edit it. And similarly, if he clicks on create new, so he cannot view this, sorry, he cannot create new one. So this is working fine as far as the role journal admin is concerned. But what we now need to do is, we need to assign, so journal admin should do everything in this on the journal database or whatever, but we can also create an author role for journals also, who can create, for example, somebody creates an account on our site who is a researcher, and he should not be journal admin, but he just should add content journals on the site. So we can create journal author role for that. So if I give another user, maybe Afaq journal role underscore journal underscore author. So if a user has this role, he can create new journals, role journal author. Okay, so Afaq has now this role. If we log in with Afaq, excuse me, if we log in with Afaq, and if he doesn't have this role, if we log in with Afaq, you will be able to create this journal too, if even he is not admin. And if we go to security .yml, sorry, and go to the hierarchy section. Sorry, not the routes, security YML. This is the hierarchy. So let me create two more roles. Role underscore journal underscore admin, and he should have all the privileges of role underscore journal underscore author also. So if somebody has author role, sorry, if somebody has admin role, it means he will have the author role also, but it is not the other way around. Now even if we change it to author in the controller for creating new journals, the controller, if I change it to the new one, author, so Naveed, who is the admin, journal admin, he can also post new journals. And similarly we will add one more, which is the editor. So role journal editor is going to be a new role who can edit journals. So role journal editor. So let us give this to OFAC as well. Role journal author and role journal editor. So he will have both of these roles, but he's not the admin. Maybe we can ask the admin to give permissions to the admin to delete journals as well, but they should only be authors and the editors. They should edit the journals, and they should add journals, but they should not be able to delete journals, something like this. So that's why we have an admin role, and admin also should have the editor role as well. So in that case we have to give one more so role journal admin should have this as well as the author. Data. So the admin has both the permissions of these roles, but so let us try now if it works. For example, if I go to the new section again and I am logged in as Bilal, he does not have any of these roles, but if I log in with Naveed, and if I go to, again to /journal /new, so Naveed is basically, because he is admin, and even the inherited roles are being shown. And if we log out Naveed and then I'll log in as Afaq, is logged in, and if I go to journal/new, so he also can create journals, and similarly he can edit it. So the question is, basically the exercise I want now to do is, if I go to all the journals, and these journals have not been created by Afaq, rather they have been created by Naveed, I think. So if I click on edit, because he has the role for editing this record, he's able to edit somebody else's journal also, and this should not technically happen. It's for some fine grained controls like these, if you want to have permissions which basically are very much tuned according to your applications, so we can have something called voters, and this is what we are going to create now. And if I go to the voters or voter, part of the documentation as well, but let us make life easier for us, and we will create a voter using the make command. So if php bin slash console make voter, and this is just normally voters are associated with a doctrine entity, so the journal is the name of the entity where we want to create a voter for. So journal voter will be the name of it. That's it. So if I go to now source, let me close some of these. Okay, so in the security folder inside the source, a voter folder has been created, and you can have more than one voters, and this one is the email verifier. And if I go to the voter inside the folder, this is journal voter. So this is what the command has created for us. It has two constants, edit and view. These are just constants, you can use them here, but even if they are relevant to a particular entity, we can move them to the entity also. So if I go to the journal entity inside the entity folder, both way it is working fine, but there journal, so here we can create two public const edit and post view. These are two but you can say permissions we have created for view as well as for edit. So rather than here, now I will delete this from the journal voter. Rather, we already have deleted it, sorry. Okay, so we have moved those to the respective entity, which is journal. By the way, there are two methods, one is supports and one is vote on attribute. These two methods are part of the voter which has created. This is the journal class, voter name, and then it extends voter. So what are attributes and what are subjects? So subject basically is in this context you can call it the entity it will act upon, and attribute are those parameters we the self edit or self view. So for example, I can ask somebody, he can you edit something on the subject, and the subject is journal, or attribute is view, so can you view something on the entity? This is subject. So subject basically is entity, it can be anything, but it can be an entity also. So here we are using it as entity, and then these are the attributes. Attributes are basically individual permissions, just like edit, view, we can have delete and so on as well, and other meaningful permissions too. So I will now, this is not self, it is the name of the journal entity, journal, and similarly this is excuse me, journal as well, and I will include rather it already is included now. So app entity journal, this, and so this should be journal now. Okay, so we can go to the voter documentation for our own logic, but the first method which runs is support. So if it returns false, it means there won't be any permission, it won't check the second method then. So for example, if these two attributes have not been defined, and the subject is not journal or something else, journal, it means if this is not entity and these two things are not defined, return false, it means it will not provide access then. So this is the first step, it will check if these permissions are defined inside and the subject is journal. That's it. We'll now come to the vote on attribute section. So here we can grab the user from the token is passed here, and it has been included here, this one, token interface. So we can grab the user here. Also you can check if the user is anonymous. So how do you check if a user is anonymous? If it is not instance of user interface, is the user object interface. So if it is not instance of it, so logged out user is not instance of this. That's why if for example somebody is anonymous user, he will this method vote on attribute will return false, and that's why it will not allow the access of that particular controller action. Now come to the attribute self edit. This is going to be not self, this is also going to be journal now. So journal edit, and similarly this one is journal. So in this, now you can have your own logic, like it has been commented out. For example, if this is this whatever, so you can then check whether to edit an article or not. So in our case, what we can do is, because the goal was that somebody, let me just edit, somebody who is logged in as somebody else should not be able to edit that user's journal article, and that's what we are going to now do. We can create a the other side of this is if is authenticated. We can create a variable is authenticated. Rather, I think this is not needed, because if a user is not authenticated, we can just return false immediately at the start of the method. So let us leave that. What we can do is one thing we also need to do is we should have a constructor in this class which is not part of the making function underscore construct, and we basically need to inject a security object. So it will be private security unsigned security. It will make sense why we need it. Okay, not here, but it should be inside the constructor. Okay, now we need to include it, and it is Symfony bundle, security bundle, and security. So here we can now access this security, and we need it for one purpose, that is security. What's the name of the, it's this dot security and is granted. So here the role, we can check for the role if a role has been granted. So who the role should be, it should be the journal author, role underscore journal underscore author, or editor, because this is edit, so it should be editor. So this returns true or false. One thing we could have, because this is, we have a user, and here we can also use get roles or is granted here also, but it does not take into account the hierarchy of roles which we have defined in the Symfony config for the security. This hierarchy is not taken into consideration for that, so it's always good to use, and safe as well, to use the security is granted um, method. So we will return it. Return. Now this basically, sorry. So if this is equivalent to just checking for the role editor, return this if it is true. If the user who is logged in is true, if this is true for that, so it will be allowed, otherwise not. The edit role, yeah, edit permission. But we need to do something extra also. So basically we need to have a condition for one other thing as well, and that is, because the subject is the entity we are working on, so we can access the get author method of it as well as the ID. So what we can do is base, because we are now going to combine two conditions, and then we can, if the role journal editor is assigned to the logged in user as well as, and we can use and with this, and it's a bit complex, but we can do it. Security, because it is available to us, this dot security, sorry, and then there is, because this dot security is uh, going to have not the security, actually this is subject is entity, subject dot, so subject is the entity, it can have get, and the get author, this one, so it will get the author, and then whoever the author is, then it will get as the get ID also, get ID. So this is the numeric get ID of the author of the journal, this. So if it is equal to the logged in user's ID, user get ID, like this, why is it okay, have we assigned user somewhere? Yes, get user, why is it not okay. So let me repeat this logic. If the logged in user has been granted the role journal editor, who the logged in user is, if he has this role, and the author of the journal ID, it means whatever is in the database, the ID of the journal author is equal to the logged in user's ID. So if both of them, this condition as well as this condition, because we have used the AND, if they are true, so it will return true. It means only now the journal can only be edited uh, by someone who has been granted the role journal editor, or whose journal author ID is equal to the user's get ID. So let us try it. Before applying this to the uh, before applying this to the to be functional, before making it functional, we have got to go to the controller method, and it's going to be journal controller. So if we come to the edit section, this one, we will use, for the new we have used is granted journal author, but here for the edit section we will now use not the role's name, but actually is granted, and here we have to use the vote constant. So it's going to be journal edit, and then because it is used for this method, so the name of the variable, it is journal. So what this means is this is the attribute and this is the subject. So we now need to check the edit constant, which is edit, and on this journal, is it allowed for us or not. So if I go to any of the edit now, and let me repeat the rule, it is the vote. So this security is granted role journal editor if a user has been granted some journal editor role, and if he is the author also of the journal, then he will be able to edit it. So let me check some of the journals now. First let me log out, and maybe if I can log in as some user. Let us first log in as Fawad, who has no roles. So if I go to the login screen, fawad@rupak.com, then 1 2 3 4 5 6, and if I log in and then go to the journal listing, so if I try to edit it, this throws me an error. But since if you go and click on show, so it shows it. For example, if I just disable it from the, if it returns false, and if I go to the journal view on the show of the controller, you can quickly copy it, and if I go to this shows one record, where it is, this one. So here we can paste it, and it will be view. It's the constant in we have created view on the journal. Now it is returning false. So if I refresh it, it is access denied. But if I turn it back to true in the journal voter, so it will now be accessible. Okay, if I edit it, I'm not being allowed to change it, because I need to have first the role of the journal author and also the ID of the user who is logged in, which is right now, and let us create the ID of the logged in user who is logged in. This is that ID, and if it is not equal to the author ID of the journal, and the user also has to have the role journal editor, then he will be allowed to edit it. So what we can do is we can quickly go to the new and create Okay, he is not journal author either, so let me add journal author role to the user for. So let me copy it, role journal author, or maybe if we can quickly copy this, if I did it. Role journal author. So forward will get this role, and if we refresh it, journal new, so we can now add. Let me first log in him, and then if we go to, this is the journal page now, so research on cricket, maybe whatever, and this is the name .png, and save. Okay, now the this research on cricket is Fawaz's own article who is logged in, but these two are. So if I test on cancer, it is access denied, but if I test this one now, hopefully it will let us. Access denied for post edit journal on controller. Let me check if on 3 we are logged in as this. Okay, because we have given, we need to give this editor role also to Fawad, because he right now only has the author role, and the if condition is based on the editor role. Go. So if I refresh it now, he can, because he's he can now change it because he's the author of this journal 3 research on cricket. So hope this is clear. And if we go to the list again, and if I check any other one, this is again he is not allowed to, because he is not the author of this. And if in the journal 2, if I change the ID of I will keep it in this tab. If I go to the journal, just to prove my point, and the this is 19 is basically Fawaz ID. So if I change it to 19 also, so now this article number 2, journal number 2 is also Fawaz, and if I click on it, now he can edit it. So we have set up a system, very powerful, and in this you can have any logic, just like this. You can have any logic which will determine this permission on the journal entity. Now let us, because if still you are not clear of how and what words are used in Symfony. So for example, if for the view, now it is returning true, anybody can view the articles. So if I go to the list and I click on research on malaria, it shows me the article journal /1. But if I make it, if I return something, for example, if the logged in user is Fawad, or maybe if the logged in user has WAD in its email, only then it will be allowed, otherwise not, for something like this. So maybe I change it to if, how can we get the email address of the logged in user? It's user get ID, so it will be if string underscore contains user get email. So if this contains, for example, let us do it with something like for also WA for default. So if the email contains, the email of the user contains WAD, then return true, otherwise it will return false. So now if the logged in user has WAD in its email, this journal will be viewable, otherwise not. Any journal will be viewable, otherwise not. So by default now, because we are logged in as Fawad, so if I go to the list and click on any of article, because Fawad's name has WAD in it, he can view it. But if I change the user, if I log out and maybe even log in as Naveed, who is a super user I think, or admin, go to journal, sorry, not the new, just journal. So if he clicks on any of these, he is not allowed to view it. So nobody else other than Fawad is able to view the articles right now. And you maybe if you want to restrict access to, says your business requirement needs to not access your journals after say 9 p.m. so you can have that also. If the time is less than 9 p.m. you can allow it, otherwise not, something like this. So it opens a lot of horizons for you as far as the security of your application is concerned. One more thing we can do, if I go to, because Naveed is a super admin, if I go to the database for the users, the table, so Naveed is role journal admin. What else is Naveed? We can have give him, or maybe this is fine, the journal admin role Naveed has. So role underscore journal underscore admin. So what we can do is, for example, for certain roles, for super users or whatever, even before your code reaches this point, we can return it from here. So for example, subject get user, this we can use this one. So if this security dot is granted journal admin, it means if a journal has an admin, the role is admin, so return true. So in this case, even if somebody is not journal editor or his ID is not equal to the logged in user, still he will be able to edit something. So journal role journal admin is Naveed's role, so he will be able to even edit it and as well as view it. So if I refresh it now, journal 3 was not viewable for Naveed, who is logged in as journal admin, role journal admin, but now he can access it, and if I go to the list and edit it, he can edit it also. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense now, what votes are and how to create them. We generate it with the make command, and then it creates a file in the security voter folder, and that's it. We have used or injected security file, this one, Symfony bundle security, and this checks. And why we are using this for the user, so that the hierarchy of roles also is found or matched. Otherwise, with just this user, it does not take hierarchy of the roles into action. And then we created two cases for the journal edit and view, which we have introduced in the supports method, and we have added them to, these are the constants added to the entity journal entity, this one, these. Okay, a lot has been achieved, and now if I go back to the document we have, we are now left with, this is also bold, we have studied it. Now we need to upload images and create a service to upload images. And maybe one more thing I need to do, and that is create thumbnails in PHP, just a small demo that will be. Okay, so let's start uploading images, and we will do it with the in the journal. We need to upload images also in the journal file with the journal entity. And if I go to the form which the CRUD command had created for us, so if we go to the form, journal type, so here we have right now just title and image, but this image we are going to make it into upload file. And in order to do it, we need to create the file type class. The second argument to this one will be file type class, and let me include it in the page also. Okay, and the third one is going to be an array of settings. This is an array. Here we need to specify a few things. For now, let us the label should be maybe journal cover or something like cover image. Then one thing, this is very important, mapped, and we will keep it false. False mapped means this field should not be associated with any entity field directly. So we are not going to associate it with the entity image name field, because this is file field, and the image, once field type becomes file type, then under the hood it submits it as a file class type, and this is string. So for now it will make sense once we do it. So for now, just mapped false is we are not going to associate it with an entity property. You can read about it in the documentation also. And then the third one is you can specify constraints. For example, you don't want to upload very high volume files, so constraints, and this is coming from the validator component we had used. So it's going to be an array, and inside it we will have a new file type validator. It is going to be, and here I need to import this also. By the way, this should be the validator one. It has a lot of these. So if I go to validator constraints file, this one, so it has been imported into the page, and here we will now specify an array. It's quite tricky, but you will get used to it. And this array is, for example, the max size of the image should not be more than some size. So max size is going to be maybe 2 MB. And the MIME types, you already know about MIME types from our custom PHP application. You can Google about them, but we can specify MIME types also allowed to be allowed with the this upload. So it is going to be an array as well, like this, and we can specify different MIME types to be uploaded. So they are image slash JPEG and image slash PNG. By the way, it is not going to be images, it's image, and you can specify other types also, but for now we will leave it as JPG and PNG. And then if there is an error or different file is uploaded, so we can specify that as well. The message and this is going to be please upload only PNG and JPG, something like this. So again, we just added the file type class and the label is this. Maybe required false we can also, should not be false. Okay, so we added these values and the map should be false. It should not be connected with the object property of image name. And then the constraints, and constraints basically are from the validator, and we can specify different file sizes to be allowed to be uploaded and all of these things. So once this is done, what we can do is we can just check if the upload is working. Upload button is there. So if I come to slash new and choose this, we can, by the way, I have created a folder in download section, journals, so we can upload one of the files from here. Right now it is not doing going to do anything because we have to update the controller also, and this is what we are going to do next. So now this form processing is taking place in the new method of the journal controller. So let's go there. If controller, journal controller, and if we, so this is that controller where excuse me, we need to make some changes. As first, what we can do is a form is submitted, so here we can check get the form value, the image value. So maybe image equals this dot get, and the name of the image field, which is image name, and then get data, and let's dd this image just to see what is there. So if I submit it, test article, sorry, this is going to be form get, not this dot get. Apologies. So this is the form because we are getting it. Form get image name and then the get data. So if we refresh it, so we have the Symfony component HTTP foundation file upload file instance. So its original name is this, mime type is this, path is this, and so on. So it has a lot of information which we can use to our advantage. So all of this logic should be inside if $sign image. It means if the image has been uploaded. So we have to do all the image processing here. And in fact we can move it to here, but for now, so the actual file name, you should recall the class I had taken while we were uploading images in custom PHP. So this is somewhat similar to that. For example, if I need to get just the file name, so it will be file name, it is going to be, remember the path info function, and it will be passed the file. This is that method on the file object, get client original name. So it's get client original name. This is a method, and we just need to, the second parameter is going to be path info file name, path info file name. Sorry, this is form. And here it is image, it's going to be image, not file. This is this image actually, which we are getting from the form element. And now I will just dd file name just to show you what it actually contains. After this, so if you refresh it, now it is just this screenshot, and this is actually the file name of the original file name, but without the extension. So if you remember, we had used some code for dashes and this to make this file safe, the file name safe. So for in Symfony, what we can do is we can use something called slugger interface, and we will have to inject it into the new method of this file. So it's slugger interface slugger, something like this, and it will be included into Symfony components string slugger interface. So now we need to convert this file name into a safe name so that it is secure. And what we can do is we can re-declare it, and we will use now this slugger interface. It has a method of slug, and it will be passed the file name. So now if we dd it again, these spaces would have changed to screenshot dashes, and that's it. We just needed to use this method from the slugger interface. And we can now even further rename it with some unique ID, so that it is almost unique when a new file is uploaded, even if it is with the same name. So we can name it safe file name or image name or whatever. Then new file name, this is going to be the new file name. This is kind of the original but safe. So what we can do is we can use it So it is save file name. Then we can use dash with it like this, and then unique ID is a PHP method which generates, and you can use such other functions also, but we will use unique ID here. So it will generate some unique random characters and append it to save file name with a dash as concatenation, and then we also need the dot for be used for file extensions, and then PHP for the Symfony basically uses image again guess, it is this this object guess extension. So whatever is the extension of it, it will be, because again Symfony wants to be absolutely sure and safe that the actual extension is associated with the file name. Okay, once all of this is done, let me just new file name. Now let us dd new file name. If I refresh it, guess extension extend. Okay, there is some typo in it. This extension. So this is going to be the new file name. This is this is the unique ID, and this is the extension. So the extension is now part of the file. Okay, so we are good to go to move this file from a temporary location. Again, you should go to the custom PHP class we had on uploads if you still have no clue of how the uploads in PHP work. So now we need to move the file, and to move the file we need to image move and the move parameter, the move method accepts 2. So this is right now, let me just hard code it. The first one should be upload directory upload, and the second one is the name of the new file, or the file which has been renamed, this one. But this is going to be directly inside the public uploads somewhere here, but we need to set this as a variable inside services.yml so that it is accessible everywhere rather than hard coding it. So what we can do is we will create inside the config packages, and then we can come to the services.yml here inside the parameters. So you can add some variables here or parameters here site wide. So we will call it upload underscore directory, and this is going to be some value, and that value is going to be will start with kernel dot project. This is the kernel variable, and then inside it we have public, and this is the root directory actually, which the kernel sets for us once Symfony installed, and then the public and uploads. So slash public slash uploads, and even if we can specify that the journals should go to its own directory, so we can specify that as well. So for example, upload directory and journals, and even we can further rename it to maybe, if it is just for journals, so we can use journals, and if it is site wide, so you can just use the upload directory, and it will be uploaded to the upload section. So let us make it upload directory is fine, and we can remove the journals, even probably we can nest it also. So for example, if we remove this one, this is generic upload directory, and this will be journals journal underscore directory. So we can specify the same variable again, maybe something like this, upload directory, and then slash journals. Let me try if this is working. Upload underscore directory, and then the journals. So the journals, if you use this variable, it will go to slash journals actually, and we can even copy this also. If it doesn't work, then I will try that. Let's try. Okay, so now we have to grab this journal directory as the variable inside the controller. This one, it should not be hard coded. So how to get it? The controllers has access to this parameter, key get parameter. So here you can get journal underscore directory. This is the name of that parameter. So this dot get parameter, this get parameter method is available on the controllers, and it gives us access to the variable which we define in services.yml. So journal directory will be available here. We just check if this is working fine, or then getting into some nasty errors. So if I go back to the journal controller, and before this we will dump the journal directory dd. If I refresh it, where is it? Okay, maybe there is some. Okay, there is this. We need to specify so you can see it's public uploads and journals. Maybe we are adding one more slash extra, so let's remove that. The last one should not be there. If you refresh the page, so that is removed. So now we can try uploading the image and remove the dd from our code. Okay, so this will move the file to the directory. Also, we need to save the new file name in the before doing all this. So if you remember, we have created a method, or the entity for journal already has that method, and after this is moved, what we will do is we will set the we have this journal here, so journal set image name, and it should be the new file name, not with all the path, just the file name. That's it. So it will make it part of the entity and save it to the database once it is flushed. Also, all this code, if the form is submitted and then if the image is available, it should try doing it, otherwise an exception should be thrown. So we will wrap it inside the try and catch. All this code, let me cut it, should go to the try, otherwise will catch exception, and it should be a file exception or something like this. File exception. So you can throw or whatever you can do in this else in this catch log. So it's try, and this is going to be. Now I think this is pretty much it. We will leave the rest of the logic as it is, and once all of this happens, it takes you to the home page of the route app journal index. So what we can do is, even in the index, now before submitting this form, let me go to the templates, and if I go to the journal template and the index one, this one, so here it needs to show the form, and I will for now to show the image, we'll add one more td, and here I will display the image, and let me add one th also, which will be basically image. So this is going to be, and maybe we need to change it to 5. Okay, so here this is going to be the image path, and how we can do is, it should be, if you remember the asset method, asset is passed the directory. So one more thing, we can use app dot something, maybe journal underscore directory, app dot journal underscore directory, and in PHP we use this for concatenation. So app dot journal underscore directory, we need to fix this as well. This is not yet available, the journal underscore directory variable, but then we should have the image file name, journal dot image name. So this is the name with extension now, and this is the directory we need to fetch. And how we can do it, if we go to, this is maybe not available at the moment, journal underscore directory, so we will go to the twig YAML file in the packages, twig twig.yaml, and here we can specify a new setting, and this again will be available throughout the site then for the twig. So maybe at the top of the page or somewhere here, globals, we can specify some globals inside the twig settings, and here it is journal underscore directory. For example, the name of the variable for twig should be journal underscore directory, and what should its value be? We can specify it hard coded here as well, but we can grab the setting which we have done inside the services.yml, which is also journal underscore directory. Let me double check if it is the same. So inside the services.yml, this is the general directory. So what we have done with this part of the code is, inside the twig.yml we have tried to make this variable available to the twig, and its value is this from the services.yml, and it should be inside the globals array. Okay, now if I some problem with the setting in the global setting, in it should be, I think, inside the twig. Yes, it should be here. So if I just cut it and use it inside the twig key like this, and one more tab, so now this variable should be available in, and if I refresh it, so hopefully. And one more thing we need to do is, inside the twig for journal, the asset directory should be, the asset function should be used, and this is now the journal directory variable which we just passed to the twig, and then the journal dot image name is the journal image name. But if you can see, it is basically there is no slash after the journal, so we need to add a slash to the journal directory setting in services.yml. Here it is. So if I add just one extra slash after this, hopefully it will then be a path. Yes, now it adds a slash to it. And again, if we come to the index.html.twig, so here we have just output it as a link, but we should use image tag like this, and then okay, if we refresh it now, the image still is not visible. Let me just check the path. So it is adding these extra var www.html public, so let me remove it. Let us fix some value in services.yml. The general directory is this. This is basically, I think we should change it to just uploads for now. And maybe just to get dash journals to the upload directory for the new ones. So this is the one journal directory which we will be using in Twig. So if I come to index.html, and this is asset journal directory, journal name, let me refresh. things are fine now. Good, we are able to see the resource general, and we should show it on the page also. For example, if I click on it, so here we need to show the image as well, but you can do it yourselves. It's easy now. Okay, so let us recap how we able to do the image upload. All the logic lies in the general controller new method, and here we are getting the image, and which is the file object actually, and if it exists we are trying to move the file. We have used the path info method with get client original name from the file object, and then we are using the slugger interface which we are injecting into the this method of the controller, and it creates a save file for us. And then we are also using the unique ID, so that some unique characters also are there in the new file name. Then we are moving the file to the general directory. So this is pretty much what is needed for uploading files in Symfony, and you should repeat all this code in the edit controller also. This is the edit controller, so let me move it inside the edit also. So let me copy maybe if image, we also need to include slugger interface here. Let me quickly copy it. Let's try if we can now edit the image. For example, I'm going to edit this one, choose file, let me check which one is this. This scientific artificial this, so we are going to edit it, choose file, and this one is the cover, and we are able to update it as well. And if we just change the title, so you should not lose it. It's here. So the image upload is now working. Now the next step is, and we will quickly do it to save time because this video has gone very long. Now if we want to upload files, this will we will have to do this logic every time in a controller action. And so for example, if we have done separate fields in separate controllers, we will have to redo it again and again. So this really makes sense for a separate service which we can use in all these controllers. So this is a use case for the services we have been studying about. Let's do it. and we will quickly go to the Symfony documentation to copy some code. All of this what we studied is here. And creating an uploader service. So this is what we are going to do now. We'll create a file uploader in app service. Let's quickly do it. I will copy all this and in the app directory, in the app services directory, if there is no services directory at the moment, we will create one. Inside the source folder, we will call it service. This is inside the source service, and now we will create a new file. I will call it image uploader, or image uploader is fine, or file uploader is also good. Image uploader .php, and we will paste everything from this file into this one. Okay, the namespace is app service, and we will make it image uploader. Okay, the constructor is having one target directory where the image will be uploaded, and the slugger interface which we needed in the action for the controller, we are now injecting it into the constructor. And then the upload method basically will be passed a file. So this actually is the file name which has been submitted in the form. And now the same logic which we have already used, original file name, then save file name, slugger is, and here basically we are injecting the slugger, so this is going to be this dot slugger, then the save file name, and then it moves it to the target directory. This is get target directory. In our case, this is going to be the journals directory, and then the exception, and then we return the file name. This is going to be the new file name, and this method is just a helper method to get the directory name. This is a target directory name. So this is what we needed, and now we are going to inject this image uploader class into the controller method. So if you go to controller and general controller, I will go to the new one, and injecting it means this. Here we need to use the file. And in the controller, the journal or we should have it inside the constructor, sorry, not the constructor, the action. So we can pass the uploader service here. We will call it image uploader and image uploader, like this. Okay, so this is the service we have injected into the controller action, and now if the image is available here, we'll pass the we remove this code and use image uploader, upload $image. And here we need to also set the same code, this one. So we can save the name of the file in the database. Okay, so we have reused that part of the code into a service. If you go to the documentation again, so that's it. One more thing, because we are injecting, and let me just show you the error once we get it. If I go to journal/new, so this error shows because image uploader is being injected into the controller action, it cannot be auto wired automatically, and this is cannot auto wire service. So because the Symfony at the moment does not know what this, if you go to the service, this is service image uploader. So we are constructing that, we are using the constructor, and this private string target directory is not known to the application. So what we can do is, even if we come to the documentation, inside this, in the services, this is the name of the class and then the arguments. So the argument means target directory, brochure target. I will just copy this, and we will come to the services.php. That's what manual auto wiring is for scalar value strings. So if you come to, we are inside this, and in the services app, this key inside this, here, sorry, this is the name of the service, and in our case it is image uploader, and the arguments to target directory should be brochure directory, and in our case it is going to be journals directory. Let me check, it is upload directory, sorry, upload underscore directory. So this will be the value of this target directory which we are passing to the service. So now it has been resolved properly. Testing journal, and then we will upload an image, and the file has been uploaded. So now we have made the upload logic into a reusable service, and this is the dependency injection and the auto wiring for the target directory parameter which we were passing to the service image uploader here. So any scalar value use, if you need to pass into the constructor, automatically Symfony won't know how to resolve that in the service. So what it will do is, you can use the services.yml file. There are other methods also in Symfony 7, but this one is also a good one. In the services, you will specify the name of the service or class, and then in arguments you will write that particular variable which you are passing, and then the its value. So it will resolve it for you. Then one last topic, and then we will call it a day, and that is thumbnailing, because that is important topic. For example, if I open this one, if I show this, and let me just show that image in the show attribute also. If you go to the controller for journals, and this is /id app journal show, and we will go to the show.html. So here in the templates directory for journal, we'll copy a value from the index, this one, image, and we'll paste it inside the show.html here. So this is journal name, or maybe even if we just change it to this and refresh the page, so the image is now this one. But if we upload a very huge image, and we don't resize it, and that's not the way out to resize images via CSS only. We should do it via PHP, and this is known as thumbnailing. So if you go to Google, we will type Symfony thumbnail component, and this is LIPP image bundle documentation. And we will use this composer require LIP imagine bundle. Composer require LIIP/imagine dash bundle. We will run this in the composer. I'll click on yes. This bundle has been downloaded, and if you go to the config packages, so we have a new one, LIP imagine, and here we need to give some values, and one of them is, if we go to this documentation, click on create thumbnails, and we will copy this filter set, actually LIP resolvers, and we will come to the my thumb section, and that's it. This part is what we need, LIP imagine. So in the settings, here we have, should be inside the resolvers, inside the imagine key, LIP imagine key. So that's it. Filter set my thumb, this is name of any individual thumbnail. Okay, So we'll call it, for example, thumb underscore 1. Quality is this, and we the size is 120 cross 90. That's it. We can copy this one and then paste it here. So this will be the second thumbnail. We'll call it 2, and maybe its size is 240 cross 180. So now this is the machine name of the thumbnail. We can use it within Twig. So we'll come to the place where we just used the image, this one, asset image, and we'll use imagine this is imagine filter, and this is the name of the, so we'll just quickly copy it, just type it. So it's going to be imagine underscore filter. This is very confusing name, not, this is not image but imagine. Okay, so imagine underscore filter, and here we will pass the name of the thumbnail we just created, and it is thumb underscore 1. So imagine underscore filter thumb underscore 1. Let me refresh if it works. We are in channel 4. Now it's of a smaller size. If you open it in new tab, though it doesn't look good, but at least it is authentically the same size. This way you can create different, and this in the documentation there is a lot of stuff you can go to through all of it, but this was the bundle to be used for the thumbnailing in PHP, in Symfony rather. So if I go to the topics we have covered, uploading images, creating service, we created the service also, and then the create thumbnails. So I think we have covered everything, and that was a lot of stuff. We started with the registration, created the user bundle, then we also created a Symfony console command to create users, the login page, the login logic, the roles hierarchy. Then we tried to restrict access to different pages. We also studied votes, which is for detailed permissions in Symfony, and then we did the uploading and created the uploading service also, and then at the end we created some thumbnails. That was a lot, and see you next time. Thank you so much.